Hi, everyone. This is Lindsay Wolfington, co-host of the Sad Song Queens podcast. I just wanted to hop on to acknowledge that this episode and a few episodes were recorded before the Palisades fire of January 2025, in which I lost my house. Thank you to everyone who has reached out with support, either by listening or going to the Buy Me a Coffee link in our link tree. Your support is so appreciated. I'm recording on my AirPods right now and hoping to get that new mic set up. So thank you for everyone who contributed. And thank you for your support. You know, we really enjoyed making these episodes and the videos where you can see my turquoise office. That was my house. And, you know, while it's sad to see it, it's also amazing to have a time capsule of that place I loved so much. So thanks again to everyone, and, you know, stay in your feelings and grab those tissues because we all need a good cry. Goodness knows I've had plenty of that recently, and I appreciate you guys joining me on this emotional journey. And Laura and I will be talking to you soon.
All my favorite songs are slow and sad. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Welcome to the Sad Song Queens podcast, where we dive deep into the songs that make us cry. I'm Laura Webb.
And I'm Lindsay Wolfington.
Welcome to the Sad Song Queens podcast. We decided that we're going to break from the norm and we're going to tell you a little bit about us and who we are.
And why we're here, why we're doing this fun, crazy thing.
Yeah. And we just decided, all right, we'll lift the curtain back a bit and tell you about ourselves. So here we go. Let's get into it.
All right. So who are we? And I think part of who we are is what we do in this case. You know, what is a music supervisor? Why are we music supervisors? So first of all, let's kind of define what a music supervisor does. A music supervisor can oversee all aspects of music in a project. And that project could be a film, a TV show, an ad, a trailer, a video game. It could be a song that is scripted for someone to sing, or a lyric quoted, or a dance routine that needs to happen. Or maybe it's just a song in a cafe or a bar, or a montage, which would be our favorite use, or a breakup, or death.
A moment for a sad song that
Yes.
we love to find. Personally and professionally, we like to find our sad songs, and those are our favorite spots to look for. So we both have been doing this for almost 20 years each. I hate saying that out loud.
Over 20 for me.
I know. Yeah. So we both individually have been doing this for about 20 years, and we teamed up, I guess, about 8 years. I was trying to do the math, Lindsay. What does that sound like?
I think that's about right, 2016-ish.
Yeah. So and I know we'd mentioned before we shared an office, and that's how we got into our shared love of sad songs. But we also started teaming up on projects together. We did a few little ones, but the biggest one that kind of took off was To All the Boys I Loved Before.
To All the Boys kind of blew up. So there was a second movie and a third movie, and we did those together. And the producers went on to make other films like Love at First Sight and Hello, Goodbye, and Time Cut.
Exo Kitty,
whole TV spin-off series of To All the Boys. So Laura, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into this career and what kind of projects you've done by yourself?
So I actually first started in the film industry as an agent trainee, and I did that for several years, didn't love it, and knew I loved film and music, and it was at a company that had actually artists and actors and musicians, I should say. And I just kind of kept putting together the dots that I really love music in film and realized maybe that's a job. I saw a posting on the UTA job list, which I believe still exists, and it just said for a music supervisor, didn't say who. I went to the interview, and in the waiting room were all the soundtracks that I had bought as growing up and that were so pivotal to me, and the directors that were so pivotal to me, which are Danny Boyle, Baz Luhrmann, Alfonso Cuarón, and I ended up getting a job with Laura Wasserman and Darren Higman, and they'd worked on many of those films like Moulin Rouge, Romeo and Juliet, The Beach, Great Expectations. So that was really cool. So I started with her, and I actually started in films. So my very first coordinator credit was Shark Tale. And like the biggest budget I've ever
Take
seen.
a bite.
Yep. And biggest budget I've still yet to see for a music budget. And then I went out on my own, and it took a minute. My first credits on my own were in the unscripted world. And then I think the ones that people probably know me most by are Teen Wolf, Siren, Kung Fu, which was on CW, and I currently work on Lincoln Lawyer. And so, all right, now tell me how you got into this and some of the credits that you've done on your own without me.
How dare I? So I started out, I worked in radio, like commercial radio in college. I was a DJ. My DJ name was Maggie Wolf. So if anyone listened to WBRU in Providence, that was me. But kind of knew I didn't want to continue down that path. And at the time was a huge fan of the TV show Felicity, which was on the WB, Carrie Russell. And it kind of dawned on me they used a lot of music that I hadn't really heard of before. And they used, they did like the end montage at the end of every episode. And I kind of said, I bet that's someone's job and I would love to do that. So when I moved to LA, I had seen a credit one day in like an end credit scroll at the end of a movie and was like, music supervisor. I bet that's what it's called. So definitely got lucky in that respect and connected with somebody who was an alum of my a cappella group. I also did a cappella in college.
And what was the name of your a cappella group?
I was in the higher keys at Brown University. There's usually like always, I feel like it's not like the biggest pun that a cappella groups have ever gone for, but it was co-ed, half pop, half jazz. And my solo was Come On Eileen. So I ended up, that person connected me to Jennifer Peiken and Madonna Wade Reed, who were the music supervisors on Felicity. And I got to work on the 4th season with them. And they also worked on Alias and Smallville. So like they were kind of like the it girls of the time, finding cool music to put in TV shows. And I was fortunate to work for them for 4 years, including the beginning of One Tree Hill. And when they split up their partnership, I also went on my own and continued to work on One Tree Hill for all 9 seasons, which was amazing. I've worked on Shadowhunters. I did the movie Theater Camp, and I currently work on Virgin River, as well as a series called Sullivan's Crossing.
And fun fact, Lindsay is the guild president of our Guild of Music Supervisors. So she, in her spare time, decides to do that too, as well as having kids and a husband and
and all those things.
Yeah. But I thought it might be fun where we take 2 minutes and I will tell you things, which I just started to, about Lindsay. And you can tell me, because you can see how well we know each other. How about that?
Okay. I've got the stop clock. You're going to go first?
Yeah. Or do you want to go first?
I'm like scared. What are you going to say? But I feel like you're already started. So let's just continue.
Okay.
All right. Ready? Laura on Lindsay. Here it goes.
Okay.
Go.
All right. Lindsay is from the DC area. She is one of 5 with siblings. Only one other sister and 4 brothers. No, 3 brothers. I'm really good at math. Let's see. She loves coffee, and that's how she used to pay her office rent when we shared an office.
Yep, true story.
True story. Let's see what else. Oh gosh, I thought
I paid Laura in coffee. We can do 1 minute.
Yeah, no, we can.
Time moves slowly.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay. She said she went to Brown. She was a DJ. She has 2 kids who are super cool. She has a nice husband named Pete. I can't.
10 seconds. Give me one more fact.
Also a Gemini as myself, and we are 2 days apart.
You're good. I love how you were like, she said she went to Brown. The way you said it made it think like,
yeah,
fact
right?
check.
Yeah, right? Oh, I could think of more now, actually, now that I think about it.
I know. Well, it'll come up. All good. All right. Laura Webb grew up in Atlanta, moved to Germany when she was a teenager, which she was very unhappy about because of her dad's work. I mean, she wasn't unhappy about her dad's work. She was unhappy to move to Germany in the middle of high school. She has a sister and who is married with 2 lovely kids who are awesome and fun. Her dad passed away
from Alzheimer's almost 2 years ago. And we did the Walk to End Alzheimer's a little bit ago. And it was really an amazing way. Laura's really good at bringing people together, especially around causes. I feel like one of her favorite films for music is Trainspotting, The Cruel Intentions, or one of your favorite music uses. And she loves Blur and Oasis.
Yes. Okay, that's really good. Okay, wait, I have more to add because I know this because I happen to know this. All right. Lindsay studied in Argentina in college, and we talked about that because I have one of my best friends from Germany is Argentine, so we have that in common a lot. I know her favorite soundtrack that inspired her was Reality Bites because we talk about high school years a lot, and because we also work on a lot of young adult projects and we think about high school years. Anyway, I think we all do, but maybe we think about it a little bit more as we transport ourselves into these characters.
And Laura also loves coffee, probably more than I do even. Laura and I were talking the other day and we were like, where do you think this affinity for sad song comes from? And like, how early did it start? So Laura, do you recall like what childhood sad songs you were first drawn to and perhaps where this affinity comes from?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can remember, I think I've always just liked the emotional stuff. Like, I think I was always reading maybe books that were over my head. And I know I definitely saw movies that were over my head. And I think my parents just took us because they wanted to see them. But I mean, I remember like reading Color Purple really young. I remember seeing Born on 4th of July really young. So I think my music taste, I know. So
Did that use a lot of music though?
Probably,
anyway,
probably for in the period, I think. I remember Good Morning Vietnam too, but that was so good. Anyway, that's just an aside. That one used music really well. Yeah. When I think about that era. But yeah, so I don't know. I think I was always like angsty and I like to sit in my room and listen to music by myself. But I remember like my earliest memories of like my parents introducing me to music and like sad stuff that also resonated with me because we loved like Lionel Richie, Neil Diamond, but those were the like, you know, Dancing on the Ceiling, like fun ones. Yeah. But I do remember we really loved the Les Mis soundtrack and Phantom of the Opera, and my dad would play that in his car a lot, and we would all just like really be taken by its beauty. And actually my dad was a big classical fan. He liked opera and classical. And so I kind of remember a bit of that too.
My parents also big fans of opera. I actually like, I think of your dad as young, like significantly younger than my parents because I'm the youngest of my 5. But there was a lot of Andrew Lloyd Webber in the car. And Celine Dion and Andrea Bocelli.
Oh, us too. Oh my God. My dad. Yeah. Time to Say Goodbye with Sarah Brightman.
Yes.
From Phantom of the Opera. I mean, that was like the best.
Yeah. So my like tragic story from my youth, or times I reflected on when I was probably not a very nice friend. I was obsessed with Phantom of the Opera. My parents brought home the soundtrack maybe when I was like 6 or 7, and I used to invite my friends over and I'd be like, do you want to play Phantom of the Opera? And they'd be like, okay, I don't really know what that is. But I'm like, great. I'm Christine. You're the Phantom.
So they have to wear the mask over their face.
And we had like the pretend, the mask that you could like buy at the concession stand. And yeah, they were like, wait a second. You have all the solos, young lady. Like, what's happening here? But yeah, so I agree. Definitely Phantom, I feel like was like hit that love for the drama.
Oh my God. Think of Me.
Yes, yeah. But then also like Phantom of the Opera, like, and the whole dun 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 dun, and like the chandelier. But I was also a huge fan of Annie growing up, and I don't know if I realized it at the time, but like I have seen both the movie and the play, obviously, a couple times since. And the song "Maybe" that begins the film, I feel like, is like one of the most heartbreaking songs ever. Like a child singing about the parents she hopes are out there. But I was going to say also for me, like I was a huge Madonna fan, but I remember True Blue being like my favorite song in 2nd grade.
I loved Papa Don't Preach, which obviously I did not understand what that was about at the time.
No, me neither, but it was a cool music video.
It was. And I think I think on some level, maybe that's like probably why we're still drawn to like sad song is that it's that emotion that we're like tapping into. And maybe we didn't have the emotional IQ at that age, but we knew it was something and it meant something to those people. Like maybe that's why we feel.
Yeah, like there was passion in the performance.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm with you. I love some Whitney Houston and especially like Saving All My Love for You, which, you know, who was I in love with? Like at like 7. But, you know, that like boys were so gross at that age. So
I would say then also, and I'll ask you the same, like in that, you know, I feel like 7th grade is like the first time a lot of kids are discovering music. It was also like the early 90s with, you know, Nirvana coming out and all that stuff. So maybe we were in a particularly cool time to grow up. But I was also loved the film Thelma and Louise, and I also really loved the score, but I had the soundtrack. And I think that it's the last cue on the soundtrack. There are 2 songs on the soundtrack, The Ballad of Lucy Jordan by Marianne Faithfull, and then the like theme from Thelma and Louise, which is melancholy guitar, like Southern guitar thing. Anyway, and I also think it's like the cue that like leads to the big cliffhanger in case anyone hasn't seen Thelma and Louise. Spoiler. I won't give away the ending. But I used to meditate before my finals listening to that song. I would lie on the floor in my room and then pretend, oh my God, now I'm really embarrassed for myself. I would pretend that like my soul was dancing around the room to the song and then it could come back in my body when the song was done.
Was that from the composer of the film?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay. Who was it? Do you remember?
I think it was James Horner, but I'll look it up.
I was just curious. I think I only saw the film once, so it didn't resonate the same way, I guess. But
I know, what's wrong with me?
No, we all have different. I mean, I fully remember Brad Pitt in that film and was like, he is a handsome man.
Brad Pitt was definitely a picture on my binder. Oh, it was Hans Zimmer.
Oh, it was Hans Zimmer. Interesting.
Yeah, early Hans Zimmer.
Oh, I saw Top Gun in the theater. Yes, the original one. And my dad was a fighter pilot in the Navy, so that resonated in that way, and that made a big distinction. But also Tom Cruise was really cute, and I think it was like that time where I'm like, oh, boys are cute.
What a controversial statement.
I know. It was like, Tom Cruise, I think it was like that.
In the 80s?
I know. Dirty Dancing, Patrick Swayze, and Tom Cruise in Top Gun. I was like, boys are really cute. But it hadn't really dawned on me before then. But that soundtrack, at the movie theater, they gave us like the 45 of Highway to the Danger Zone. And I would listen to that so this isn't a sad song, but I would listen to that every morning before school to get myself pumped up for the day. And that soundtrack, I guess was my first. I mean, yes, you could say Phantom and all that, but like for me personally and me playing it in my room was that soundtrack for sure.
I mean, to that, my favorite song from that soundtrack was Take My Breath Away. I was like, it's the ballad, of course.
Right.
But, you know,
yeah. I know.
So I'm a sadder queen. Sorry, Laura.
Yeah, I know.
Because of Top Gun.
Yeah, I loved my Danger Zone and playing with the boys or the beach volleyball. And we get this question just working in music in general, and I cannot remember. So I know it was the same summer, so I don't know which one came first. But they're two very on polar opposites. So. But both were because I grew up in Atlanta, we had a Six Flags, and it was Six Flags over Georgia. And so they had a amphitheater there, which was super fun because you'd go see a concert, but you'd also get to go to Six Flags. So amazing. Yeah, it was great.
That doesn't exist anymore, does it?
I don't know. I will look that up. I have no idea. So in the same summer, I went with my church group, and we saw Amy Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Which Christmas album?
Baby.
I mean, and then the same summer, I think I went with my sister and her friends, so I thought it was super cool. Because as I think a lot of people, my sibling did turn me on to certain music. Now it is very much reversed. But I also went and saw Four Non Blondes, which is super cool.
Very cool.
That was super cool, and it's so cool to see Linda Perry evolve from then. But that was definitely like two different sides of the spectrum. But you can love both, so that was
it. It's like Andrea Bocelli and Nirvana.
Yeah. Right. So do you remember your first concert? I feel like I should be able to answer this too.
Yeah, what do you think my first concert was?
Well, I feel like your parents took you to some like oldies concert or something. We know enough of the stories for each other. Like I'm like, I feel like I've heard this, but I can't remember specifically.
But what do you think my real first concert was? Like
Tiffany? I don't know.
No, I didn't know if you knew, because I didn't know if I'd mentioned before.
No, I'm sure you have, and I should know.
No,
but like New Kids on the Block?
No.
I don't know.
But no, so the parent oldie, they took me to see Crystal Gale.
Oh,
with the hair down to her ankles.
That's
and
right.
I was like, I love Don't You Make My Brown Eyes Blue. Like, I loved that song, so I was happy to be there. But like the hair to the ankles was like, how do you grow it that long? How do you sleep at night? Anyway, so I would say fuzzy memory of first concert of Crystal Gale, and then real like first concert that I chose to go to and I went with a friend, but also my brother took me to 10,000 Maniacs.
Oh, I should know that.
Who are one of my favorite bands.
Yeah,
so,
I should know that. Yeah, definitely. I do have a funny story about, I did go see, but my dad took me and a friend to see New Kids on the Block. And, but I remember like, when you would buy the tickets so far in advance and you had to line up at Turtles. Did you guys have Turtles?
No, what is
You
Turtles?
didn't have Turtles? That was the music store in Atlanta. And I think it was other places. Anyway, so Turtles, you lined up and we lined up and we got the tickets. But between when I liked them versus when they finally came, they like went through that period where we're like, nope, not into them. But my dad was like, oh no, we're going. And I'm like, okay, and to prove the point, like he was like, no, we commit to what we commit to, right?
Yeah.
So it was me and my friend Paige, and Paige had messaged me not too long ago after my dad passed, was like, I remember when your dad took us to New Kids.
Aww.
And she said that was her first concert. But I just remember my dad was miserable, and he like went in the bathroom and got tissues because he's like, so many screaming girls, but he to prove the point needed us to like stay and listen, and we're like, well, you're miserable, but it ended up being really fun and the songs are great. It just was that like, it was the same thing like, you played with Barbies and then there was that shift of like, oh, we don't play with Barbies anymore, but me and my best friend did secretly play for like
everybody
a good year.
did. I feel like as an adult you're like, oh yeah, I totally like hid them under my bed, but every once in a while
yeah, like me and my best friend growing up, we definitely like played way longer because we're like, we like it and we make these worlds and stuff. But anyway, I just remember that as my New Kids story. And
I don't know that I've been to, other than the K-pop band you and I went to,
ITZY.
I don't know that I've really been to like a boy band or a girl, like where people are almost dancing more than they're singing. I don't know that I've ever been to a concert like that. Other than like a musical.
Yeah.
But like boy band, girl band. Never saw Britney, I loved Debbie Gibson, but never saw her. Backstreet, NSYNC.
Yeah, I never saw them. But I've seen New Kids. Yeah, I saw New Kids when I was, I don't know, like in 5th grade or something. Maybe
so
even,
that's cool.
Yeah. 3rd grade, 5th grade, I can't remember. But you're right. Actually, I don't know that I have either. Although I did just get to see Madonna this year when she toured. But that's different. I don't know. Like that's a whole, Madonna's her own thing. We could like just go through her canon. If you have more questions, let us know. Yeah,
we're happy to do an episode answering them every once in a while. And whether it's about supervision or boy band concerts.
Yeah. Mixtapes,
Laura's angsty time in Germany. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure we'll talk about that more. Or when Lindsay's cat died.
Oh dear. Yes, get ready, guys. Get ready. Thanks for listening, and keep on listening to the Sad Song Queens podcast. We appreciate you.
Remember, grab those tissues, because you always need a good cry. And maybe we didn't cry this episode, but you always need a good cry. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for joining us today on Sad Song Queens, because you always need a good cry. Special production thanks to Keahu Kahuanui, Miles Bergsma, Wyatt Rouse, and our researchers Emily Cartham and Sylvia Multhra.
Theme song by Weezer, all my favorite songs, and outro music by Wyatt Rouse.